All right, it's Tom Gamble along with Brady Labor as we get ready for the kickoff to the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown presented by Mercy Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Meyer. We're here in the stands. We can't afford these seats. They have backs at Princeton High School, but Pat Mancuso Field, right? The great Princeton coach. It was Jerry Fowles versus Pat Mancuso for years. And this series, Moeller Princeton, which hasn't happened in the regular season since week one of the showdown in 2008. They played in the playoffs 3 years ago. But this is the classic Southwest Ohio rivalry, Moeller Princeton.
And this is the one everybody had clamored to get
Absolutely.
back on the regular season schedule because of all the nostalgia and all the greatness of how these two programs put high school football on the map in Southwest Ohio. And why not have it here at the Crosstown Showdown in week one to kick things off?
Well, you're right. And I mean, Jerry Fowles won 5 state titles. Pat Mancuso won 3. And the run, there was Fairfield mixed in. And then you got more. You had Elder. You had Coleraine. You had St. X Fairfield. I almost forgot about Fairfield. Can't do that. But we had a chance to sit down. Pat Mancuso, who I had a chance to cover when I worked for the Cincinnati Post. Yes, there was an afternoon newspaper back in those days.
You mean there was a newspaper?
There was a newspaper, yes.
And
I'm sorry.
2.
But yes, 2. But Pat Mancuso had a chance to talk about his great years, 37 of them, 305 wins, 29 GMC titles, 21 in a row here at Princeton. The legendary Princeton coach, Pat Mancuso. All right, it's the opening week of the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown, presented by Mercy Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Meyer. And it's Moeller against Princeton, the renewal of the classic Southwest Ohio rivalry that we're going to talk a little bit about because I've got a subject from that rivalry back in the day when you played Week 10 and the winner went on, the loser did not. I'm talking with legendary Princeton High School football coach, Mr. Pat Mancuso. Pat, great to see you.
Good to be here, especially this week, Tom. This is a special week.
Well, Pat, I mean, let's make no. You look, for a man who's 95, you look like you could still coach. Do you feel like you could?
Not really. No. I enjoy going to the games. I like watching the games, but I enjoy going home after the games and not having to worry about anything.
Yeah, none of that game planning, none of that strategy.
Right.
No people griping about you should have done that. Of course, in your day, I was looking at some of your numbers, and it's incredible. You're the head coach here for 37 years, which that's enough in itself. But the amount, you won 305 games. 29 Greater Miami Conference championships, including 21 in a row, 3 state titles. You probably didn't have a lot of people, right? We were talking about this before we started here. You don't get a lot of griping when you win, right? I mean,
that's a nice part about winning. You don't have people complaining.
Pat,
Parents are happy.
When you think back to that, the part of your, because you coached, 42 years total, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
But you're 37 here at Princeton. I mean, are there any seasons, teams? I realize I'm asking a difficult question, but what do you remember when you what comes to mind right away when you think about your career here at Princeton?
Well, 2 things probably you'd have to point out. Of course, the Moeller-Princeton rivalry, because that was big in the city.
Sure.
During the late 60s, 70s, 80s, that was big. But probably the biggest thing that I thought at the time, and now, as I look back, was 1972, I think it was.
First year of the Ohio State playoffs.
First year of the Ohio playoffs. And only 1 team qualified in the region. And it was going to be us or Moeller.
Yep.
We had to beat Moeller. We did that year. But the main thing was we played an undefeated Massillon team that was undefeated. And they were ranked in the Associated Press and the UPI #1 that year. And we played them in Columbus and at Ohio State. And we beat them 17-14 on a 47-yard field goal by a gentleman, player at that time, Rick White, who never kicked a field goal in his life.
Wow.
And he kicked a 47-yard field goal right before halftime. But anyway, we beat Massillon. Now, what was significant about that? That, I think, sort of, I don't want to say solidified, but it brought the attention to Southwestern Ohio football. and not particularly Princeton really, but Southwestern Ohio, because at that time.
Oh, I think you're right. I've said that's always been a landmark win for Southwest Ohio, just around the state, because I don't know that, since then it's really been Southwest versus Northeast. There's always the great debate. But then, Pat, you look at from there, you had that win in 72, and that was in the state semifinals. Then you had Jerry Faust, obviously, and Moeller winning in 75, 76, 77. You knocked them off and won the state title in 78. They came back and won in 79, 80. They won in 82. Then you won in 83. Fairfield won in 86. You won in 87. So, I mean, really, not only did that victory kind of propel Southwest Ohio into the conversation, but we started to win state championships. That was Class AAA, which ultimately morphed into Division I. But you mentioned Moeller Princeton. I mean, and I don't think some people really understand that it came down. Well, first there was one team, then there were two, then there were four. Now, of course, almost everybody gets in, which I don't like, but that's neither here nor there. But it came down to Nipper. I mean, people waited. That was like the classic game, Week 10, Moeller Princeton at UC's Nippert Stadium. What was that game like?
Well, now that you mention it, that 83 game, we played them the 10th game that year, and they beat us 28-21, the 10th game. We catch them the first game of the playoffs, very next week, and we beat them 28-21.
Wow.
Same score, just reversed.
But doesn't that kind of indicate, I mean, Moeller, it was such a great rivalry, wasn't it? I mean, it was obviously Jerry Faust and Moeller. He started their program in 62, then you here. And I know you guys, such coaching greats. And when you think back, I had a chance to talk to Kirk Herbstreit of ESPN recently. And he mentioned about just going to that Moeller Princeton game. And he started just rattling off names of players from both teams. It's incredible when you look at the guys who played for those programs.
Yeah, we played against Herb. He was quarterbacking at Centerville when we played them. But the history of Princeton Moeller, it's unique in a way that it transpired. You mentioned it started out in 65. We start playing them in 65. And from 65, I think it went maybe 10 years, 75, that we played them the first game. And then for some reason that I don't know why, we rescheduled it and played the second game. Well, that didn't work out. We both agreed to that. We both said, hey, that won't work out. So then we said, well, let's play 10th game. That'll be good. We'll get the people. So we start playing, like you say, the 10th game. So in the early 80s, I think it started. We played 80, 81, 82, 83, right in there. I think we played them maybe 4 or 5 times, the 10th game, and 3 of those times we played them the first game of the playoff then after that. And then, the odd thing, Tom, that happened, after 83, we quit playing. And we just said, well, we'll wait and then play when we meet you in the playoffs. Our people wouldn't stand for it. We went through 2 years that we didn't play more, that the superintendent got calls, I got calls, everybody got calls. And you got to get Moeller back on the schedule. You got to get Moeller back on the schedule. So we only went those 2 years without Moeller on the schedule. Then then about in 86, we get him back on the schedule, and then we played him until, as long as I was.
Well, it's the same thing now. I mean, they haven't played in the regular season since 2008, and that's when I was fortunate enough to get them to go down to UC's Nippert Stadium. It was week 1. It was in the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown. Princeton led 10-7 at halftime. Moeller wound up winning 27-17. And then, of course, 3 years ago, they met in the playoffs, and Moeller won 28-21. But they've been really good games. I mean, this is one of those games, Pat, where, and unfortunately, with league expansion and things of that nature, a lot of games like this, unfortunately, have gone away. That's why I'm so thrilled to have it in the showdown, but just to see this game back.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of those, to me, and Andre Parker in a couple of years has done an outstanding job here.
Yes, he
naturally.
has. Yes, he
and
has.
Bert Bathiani, try to pronounce that name. I'm getting better at it. He did a great job last year at Moeller, and Moeller's, of course, made the state semifinals 3 straight years. And this is just one of those games when you look out Friday night, there's going to be so much talent on that field. This is a game that should be played. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. You and Jerry Faust obviously went head to head. Have you in recent years, do you talk to Jerry at all? Do you stay in touch?
We, at times, there was a function going on recently, a film.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That, and Jerry came down for it. And for some reason, I couldn't make it. And from the theater, Jerry called me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we talked on the phone. Yeah, Jerry and I, the rivalry was great. You know that. But Jerry and I have been good. We were good friends all the time. We always had that good relationship, coaching-wise, with the Moeller coaches.
Yeah.
We got along, our staff.
There's mutual respect.
There was.
I mean, you programs were so good.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's awesome. We're in Joe Roberts' office here at Princeton High School, the current athletic director. I want to thank Tamet and Chris for helping us set this up. But watching you see people that you haven't seen in a while, I mean, this is really cool. I mean, it's great to see you get back to Princeton. I mean, do you ever think, and I know you're a guy who always revered the players and kept in touch with the players, and are there guys that you still remain in contact with that played for you?
I was telling Tamet just recently, 2 weeks ago, several of the players called me and we had lunch together.
That's great.
At a place in Hamilton, Gina's. And I get together with them every once in a while. We'll have lunch. They'll call me up and we'll go and we'll have lunch. Yeah, it's good to have lunch. And regardless of who's there, this game always comes up. I don't care if it's in the wintertime, somebody's talking, because all of them played at that time when that was the 60s or 70s or 80s when they were playing.
Now I know you come to the Princeton games, right? You've always come to the Princeton games. Can you just relax and watch? I mean, or do you still find yourself, I would have done this, I would have done that? Or do you just relax and go home and go to bed?
Well, both. Both. I relax and I watch, but I still say, oh, why they do that, or why they do this, or that's the nature in you.
Pat, the game's changed so much, right? I mean, it has to a degree. I mean, right? Would you enjoy the game itself today? Would you enjoy coaching today? What strikes you as the most different from when you coached compared to today?
Oh boy, Tom, you got me on the spot.
Speed? I mean, is it? But it's still field.
You're talking about the actual playing.
I'm talking about the actual playing.
Oh, the spread, the speed, the size of the players. We never had a player as big as they are today. Unless you, especially at our level now, if you don't have a couple 300-pounders or a couple of 180, 285-pound linemen, you don't go on the field and play at Division I.
Would you have been a spread guy? Would you have gotten into that? Or would you? I mean, I guess it's hard to say because in your era, it wasn't there. But you were an innovative guy. I mean, you didn't. I mean, you.
I think this is any high school coach, any high school. You do what you have. If you have spread players that fit into a spread offense, you play a spread offense. If you have kids that fit into a option offense, at that time, we had tremendous speed and probably more speed than our opponents had, with the exception of, I'd say, Middletown, at that time when they had Chris Carter and those kids.
Yeah.
And we had to take advantage of that. I know that, you talk about the Moeller game. We considered the Moeller game the same as Ohio State, Michigan. It was a year-round thing for us. And we built our program around what do we have to do to beat Moeller. And at that time, we were playing two teams, them and Upper Arlington, that we had to say the same thing. But the main thing was, what do we have to do to beat Moeller? So the offense we were running back then, we couldn't beat Moeller. So we changed And we took advantage of our speed and the quickness of our backs and quarterback ability, and we went to option football. Now, I don't know that that was the best or would be the best. It was best for us because of the personnel we had. And the other thing is, the opponents only had 4 days to get ready to play us, and that was a big advantage for us.
You know, it's funny, when you mentioned about that win over Massillon, Washington in 72, I used to say that Moeller and Princeton did everything for this area's football because you had one of two scenarios. You either had to get better or they were going to beat you every year. I mean, it was kind of like that. And I think when you look at, then you had the Coleraines and the Elders and the St. X's. I mean, there have been so many programs since that have gotten better. The competition every year is so good now in this area. I think it's because of your two programs.
Well, I think that's the big difference today, and that's why I don't think that the Moeller-Princeton game will generate the same type of, what do I want to say, the way that they was expected of the game. The way the people
it was all
reacted to
back when
the way the people reacted to it and looked forward to it. There was only Princeton and Moeller at that time, pretty much.
Sure.
Now today, like you say, you got all those teams. You got in our league, you got West, you got East, you got Mason, Hamilton's a good team now. Fairfield's a good team. Middletown's a good team. Yeah. Any one of those teams now, and in the city, you got St. X, you got. Look at Elder.
Yep.
LaSalle won a couple state championships.
Sure.
Withrow's coming strong now.
Yeah.
So, you got that parity in the city in southwestern Ohio. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good for football. It's good for the high schools.
I agree. Well,
No
Pat,
doubt about it.
You'll be there Friday night. You're going to be the honorary captain, which is pretty darn cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Yeah. If I can walk out there and walk back, I can.
Well, Pat, you're gonna be fine. You only got a couple days. You make it 4 days. I got faith in you. I got confidence in you, Pat. I mean, I gotta be honest. You look amazing for 95. Are you kidding me?
Well, let me tell you something.
You're gonna be 96 when?
November 14th.
Okay. Wow.
Hey, let me tell you something though. I found out coming here that it brought a big laugh out of me. I thought, now through a friend of mine, Scott Kaufman.
Yeah.
I was telling him.
Friend of mine as well. Yeah.
You are the commissioner of the GCL.
The Greater Camelot South Division. You're right. The all boys, the Elder, LaSalle, Moeller, and St.
Tom,
correct.
You're.
Don't look. Let
me tell you what.
Don't read anything.
You are a
greater. You know what I am? A gopher. I mean, that's what I do for the league. I'm like a gopher. I just do all the stuff, Pat, that nobody else wants to do. That's what it is. But no, you know what I mean, Pat. I've been doing this. It's funny. You mentioned about you coached for 42 years. Literally, I started in 1979 when I was at Coleraine taking games at the post over the phone. And so I've been doing something in high school sports since 79. And I think I'm like you. I just enjoy it. I mean, high school football's kind of always been for me.
Oh, yeah. You've been a forerunner. So now I'm going to switch the deal on you here. I'm going to ask you the question. How many games you got going with this?
We do one a week. So we do one. So what happened, Pat, was we started in 98. So this is year 27. So we used to do the big Friday, Saturday, and then it morphed into like Wednesday through Sunday. We had some games on ESPN. Obviously, they're picking up high school football now.
Yeah.
And then the NCAA came down. Of course, you can pay guys all kinds of money today, but you can't, if you're me, you can't host games at a BCS school like UC. So we had to kind of pivot, hate to use that word, but we did. And so we now do a big game every week. So, which is great. It gets us on the high school camp. Like, can't wait to be here Friday night. I mean, it'll be an awesome atmosphere. It's a lot of fun.
So you're only doing one game a week now?
One game a week, yeah. But we do 10 weeks. We do all through the season. We used to kind of pack it in. I mean, I remember there were some years we did 25 games in like 5 days. It was nuts.
Now the showdown.
Yep.
If before you used to do more than one game a week.
We did them all in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know how we made it through that, but we did, and it was fun. And it was kind of the kick. I mean, it was the whole design of this event, Pat, when I started this way back in the late 90s was I felt like the football here was so good. Let's give it a center stage, and that's what the showdown became. So
Now, have you picked the teams that you're going to have the 10
Yes,
weeks, or you do
yes.
it
We
week at a
we-
time?
We do it. No, we've got them picked. We'll announce them a week at a time.
Mhm.
But this game was a no-brainer.
Oh,
This
that's-
game is a no-brainer, and I can't wait. And these are two good teams. I mean,
oh,
this game is a good football game.
Yeah.
Moeller 10-5, 3 straight state semis. Princeton was unbeaten. They beat West. They won the GMC undefeated.
Yeah.
Then they lost 19-7 in the third round of the playoffs. They went up 12-1. They got a lot of guys back, both sides of the ball. This should be fun Friday
Yeah.
night.
You remember, Tom, when the cars used to stop on the highway just to,
Oh,
just to watch the
absolutely,
game?
I do. They pull off,
Yeah.
get off on the side, and that's a true story here at Princeton.
Yeah.
I remember when it was so crowded, cars would park off on Chester Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for people who weren't around and don't remember Princeton, which is back kind of the heyday, which is really cool. It's really cool to see those programs that were classic, just great championship programs. It's pretty incredible. And Pat, you were part of that. You did it here.
It was a fun time.
It was a fun time.
It was a fun time.
Yeah.
It was a real good time.
So you got to go home now, Pat, before you got to get your rest. Because on Friday, you might jog out there Friday night. You think you can do that?
I don't know about the jogging. Now, I do work out 3 days a week.
Okay.
I got a treadmill and
All right. Well, I got
bicycle
news for you. Right now, you're
downstairs.
ahead of my pace. So
and I do get my workout 3 days a week.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And I know we tried to talk and see if Jerry can make it down. I don't think he can, which obviously we'll recognize Jerry Faust too.
Isn't he going to be here?
I don't think he is. But I think
I was looking forward to that.
So everybody, but I mean, we're just glad you're here, and it's going to be a great night of high school football, and that's what it should be. It's been great seeing you again and talking to you. It's been a while, Pat.
It has.
It has been
Yeah,
a
it
while.
has.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I've been reading about you and all that kind of stuff. I haven't
Don't,
seen you.
and not, you know what they say, Pat. Not everything you read is true. So you got to be very, very, very careful. But it's great, honestly. It's always you were one of the best. It's
Good
great
seeing you again, Tom.
Absolutely.
Good seeing
The
you.
legendary Pat Mancuso. You got to see it Friday night, 7:00 kickoff. He'll be the honorary captain. Moeller Princeton as we get underway in the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown, presented by Mercy Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine in Meyer. Check back on X, formerly Twitter, all week at X-Town Showdown, and you can check. We'll have all kinds of team previews, interviews, videos. We'll get you ready on Friday night. We'll give you videos, scoring plays, all kinds of stuff if you can't make it out to Moeller versus Princeton.